the message here more than anything else is if you have one speck of doubt of whether something is legitimate, hold off and don't do anything, and maybe check other avenues to find out if it's legitimate before you act. But one thing to know, FMCSA is never going to email you and ask for your social security number through email or ask for your DOT PIN number. That's something that they don't do.
Welcome back to Landline Now. Whether it's another scam or predatory towing, it sure can feel like truckers are under assault on any given day. We've actually had developments on both of those issues in the past week, and joining us with a recap, rundown, review, another R word,
Okay.
Mark Schrimmer, senior editor of Landline Magazine. Mark, how you doing?
Retort? Rebuttal?
Sure.
I don't know.
Let's
sure.
do it. Let's do them all. Let's get to all of them here. Let's start with this email phishing scam that's just seems to be getting bigger and bigger. We've talked about previous attempts in the past. It's come back around again. Big enough here that if FMCSA has issued a quote-unquote high alert this week, warning truckers about it. This one, Mark, we were talking earlier, especially troubling, I think, because it is super easy for someone to get tricked into clicking on a link on this one. There's a whole bunch of layers here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these type of scams and schemes aren't new. We've all seen them, whether you're in the trucking industry or just, anybody who has a phone will get a text message or an email, some sort of scam. The old Nigerian prince, here's $1 million. You just need to give me your social security number and we'll get that taken care of. Yeah. So we've all seen those, and a lot of those are easy to spot. But what in this case, I think they're gradually getting more sophisticated. This one is pretending to come from FMCSA. It includes forms that appear at first glance to be legitimate about registration, and it is asking for your PIN number, but the email address is coming from things that look real, like safety@fmcsa.gov or audit@fmcsa.gov. And if you aren't paying attention, it is to think, okay, yeah, I guess I need to renew this, and I guess I need to give them my PIN number. But the thing is, once you give that PIN number out, they can take over control of your operating authority, and they can start booking loads and doing a whole lot of shenanigans and hijinks at that point. So, the message here more than anything else is if you have one speck of doubt of whether something is legitimate, hold off and don't do anything, and maybe check other avenues to find out if it's legitimate before you act. But one thing to know, FMCSA is never going to email you and ask for your social security number through email or ask for your DOT PIN number. That's something that they don't do. That is not a common practice. So don't click on those links. Don't send that personal type of information over an email like that.
And I'll go a step further, too. Even if you get an email that is from FMCSA, there's no harm in just taking a beat, taking a step back, and just doing some due diligence. I understand people are busy. I understand you're getting a ton of emails. You've got paperwork to fill out. You've got all this going on. So, again, it can be easy to get tricked, especially when that email domain looks legit.
Yeah, 100%. And like we've talked about before too, these bad actors, these scammers that are doing this are probably sending 1,000 of these out every day.
Thousands,
if they get 10, that's good enough for them. So it's not, I don't think that it's got probably a high rate of success for them, but it only takes a few for them. And you don't want to be, one of those, bad stories on this. The other part of it is that we just have, this is going on over, I think all the time I look back and go, I wish sometimes we could go technology back to like 1992 because it just seems like we're getting more and more of these types of issues. Back to your point, Scott, stop, take the beat, go to FMCSA's actual website
portal, yeah.
and go look at the contact us and make a phone call or do whatever you need to do to find out, hey, I just received this. Is this legitimate? Did this really come from your agency? Is this something that you would do? You can do that. Just, call OIDA, ask some questions, get some assistance there. But take that beat, give it some time, but don't react quickly, because that's what they're counting on.
And again, these emails are saying if you don't respond within a certain amount of time, we're going to fine you. That should be another red flag right there.
Yeah.
Again, they're trying to get you to rush into this, So again, just take a step back, take a beat, and make sure you're not walking into a trap. And unfortunately, it happens. And I understand how it can happen, again, because these people know what they're doing.
Yeah, there's no shame in it if it does happen. But look for the red flags. I will also, the OIDA Foundation just put out some reminders and tips, and there's also a video on the OIDA Foundation YouTube channel that you can go to. It's about 5 minutes. It's real easy to watch, and it tells you some of the things to look out for regarding these sort of like phishing scams. So just, get informed and protect yourself.
Speaking of shenanigans, hijinks, bad actors, let's shift gears here to predatory towing. FMCSA collecting feedback, right? They're looking for ways to improve transparency in towing fees. They did take some comments. There were a number of them. I think about 100. Is that right?
Yeah, it was
Something
right
like
about
that.
100. Yeah.
The responses from truck drivers, and we'll talk about the other responses as well, but responses from truck drivers had a pretty common theme throughout the comment window there, right?
Yeah, and always when we talk about this issue, talk about kind of the main way we're talking about this tow, we're talking about, for the most part, non-consensual or third-party towing is what it's commonly referred to as. And that's a situation, so you have maybe a long-haul truck driver, maybe they're out of California, but they're delivering a load and they just happen to get into some sort of crash or incident where they need a tow maybe in West Virginia, and they're not familiar with things there. Law enforcement shows up. They want this tractor trailer removed as quickly as possible, so they go automatically to their towing rotation list. The truck driver at this point does not have an ability to choose which tow company. They don't have the ability to negotiate prices to see what they might be charged for this. The control is completely out of their hands. And as you would expect, when you have something like that, there have been instances of bad actors that will take advantage of this. And we have seen, issues of drivers charged $80,000 for a simple tow, $100,000, even $200,000. I'll give you one example that I used in a story. The Virginia Trucking Association was referring to one example where the bill was $202,000 for one of their members, truckers, dealing on one of these tows. And they put in the comments to FMCSA that they had on good authority that actually, even though they were billed an invoice for $202,000, that tow company actually contracted that out to another tow company, and they paid that tow company $25,000. So they paid $25,000 supposedly for the services, and then charged $202,000. That's a nice rate of return.
That's a big markup. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you bring that one up too, because I think it was interesting. There were comments from tow groups.
Oh, sure.
Tow operators.
There was a lot. I would say maybe actually more from tow groups than there were from truckers.
Yeah.
Or closely divided, but yeah, maybe a little bit more from tow groups.
Yeah, and they're not happy. I mean, we've talked about this before. I think the great number of towing companies out there are doing so in good faith.
Yeah.
They're doing things the right way. It's the small number of bad actors, again, that we're talking about here. But they made some points in the comments I thought were kind of interesting, and we've heard this in other forums as well, too, about having to make up costs, which was something that came up, right?
Which honestly is a little squishy to me. When we do that, I understand the point. I mean, some of the comments that I see again and again from them is how difficult of a job it is, that they got to be on call 24/7, that people don't understand the true cost and all of this stuff. But to your point, one of the things that's brought up a lot is that sometimes they have maybe difficulty, because again, they're, in fairness to them, where I'm saying the truck driver doesn't have the opportunity to choose, they also don't get to choose who their client is, and they don't get to run a credit report and find out whether they're actually going to get paid or whatever. They're doing a service for the county or for the state or whatever, to go and clear up traffic. So basically, but what they're saying is happening sometimes is almost admitting that they're inflating bills to make up for the people that they're not getting the money from. And like I said, that is particularly squishy to me, because I get it. I get the concept. But if it costs you $10,000 to do the tow and you're charging me $80,000
for trying to make up the money that someone else didn't pay you.
I understand you have to have a business model, but that's difficult for me to justify. And the other problem is that since we have such a patchwork of policies and regulations, or lack of regulations from state to state, county to county, a lot of these, there's not even a place, and this is something OIDA has worked on for years and years and probably decades, of trying to go into each state and get at least some sort of process that we can challenge and go, okay, you charged me $80,000. We can look at this, and we got video that shows you charged me for 2 wreckers, and there's only one on scene here. So, that's a real example that isn't that uncommon of those type of things that have happened. And so, but so many of these counties and states, there's not even a process where you can challenge it. They said $80,000, so that's it. And you need to, and they can sometimes hold your cargo hostage, hold your trailer hostage, all of these type of things. So it's a dangerous situation. I appreciate that Department of Transportation is actually taking this up and looking into it. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said some, I think very positive things, admitting that most tow operators are doing it the right way, but there is a segment out there that are taking advantage. When you don't have any sort of oversight whatsoever, there's going to be people that take advantage of it and do unscrupulous things. And that's what I believe is happening in at least some cases here.
Well, yeah, and we shouldn't be punishing, as to your point there, we shouldn't be punishing a truck driver who has an incident on the side of the road and needs to get towed legitimately. We shouldn't be punishing them for someone else not paying. There's something wrong, clearly. I mean,
there's a mess up with the system.
The system is messed up, exactly. I'm curious to see what FMCSA comes up with when they're talking about this. Obviously, on the legislative side, you mentioned OIDA taking efforts there. I don't know what FMCSA is going to be able to do here. I'm curious to see how they kind of come out on this. I hope it's not just a conversation that keeps on going and going and going like others that we've seen. And
it's always interesting, too, because we got that election looming, and so it could be a completely different administration here soon. And so, it's hard to tell where these things will go. Yeah. I do appreciate that they are looking at it. And so, I wait and see.
Well, and this should be a bipartisan thing, too. This shouldn't be a political thing. I know everything's political these days, but this shouldn't be a political. People are getting taken advantage of. Yeah. Let's protect those people. Let's make sure the people who are doing the bad things stop doing the bad things. That's my platform for 2028, I guess, when I run for president.
I'm voting for Scott Thompson.
All right. That's my single issue right there. Mark Schirmer, we appreciate it. You can check out his work at landline.media, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Scott.
We'll step out here for a quick break, but do stick around. There's more Landline Now right after this short commercial break.